Hello there, and welcome to the first podcast on my channel. We're joined here by Kurie S Jones. He has his own YouTube channel as
Hello,
well, does lots of
everyone.
voice recordings. Hi there, Kurie.
Hello.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
so, what are we going to talk about today, Kurie?
Doctor Who and the franchise as a whole.
Indeed. So, what's your current experience with Doctor Who so far?
Okay. Honesty. Yeah, I'm a novice, complete novice. That is debatable. We will get to that. But yeah, I'm in series four. So yeah, I don't know where that
Series
puts
4 of
the right.
modern Doctor Who, right?
Yes, series four.
So, you are aware, of course, that Doctor Who, the show itself, began all the way back in 1963.
Yes, he made me aware of that fact,
Yes, and there were 26 series in the so-called classic Doctor Who.
which I find crazy. That's a lot. It's
Yes.
a long series.
So in essence, what happened was in 1989, at the end of the 26th season of classic Doctor Who. By the way, quick side note: for classic Doctor Who, they're referred to as seasons, but for modern Doctor Who, they're referred to as series. Just
Yeah,
saying. So on the 26th season of classic Doctor Who that aired in 1989, um, that was the final season of classic Doctor Who. The BBC decided to cancel the show after that. It did return briefly as a film in 1996, but
oh,
it didn't come back fully as a TV show until 2005, and the so-called revival era of Doctor Who began.
yeah.
Right. So far in 2024, the most recent Doctor Who series to have aired is actually called Season 1. Do you know why that is?
Why is that, Shane? Tell us.
Essentially, back in October 2022, BBC partnered with Disney to create the new series of Doctor Who, but that meant that they had to market it as a new season, like a completely separate season from the prior
Hmm.
13 series. It's all a bit of a mess. I still call it Series 14, but technically it is called Season 1. But it's still Doctor Who at the end of the day, and you know that's what matters most. But okay, yeah.
I'm looking at some interesting facts on Google. It says the first episode of Doctor Who was transmitted 80 seconds late due to a bulletin about the previous day's assassination of John F.
Oh
Kennedy.
yes,
That's
yes,
true.
yes.
Is that
So let's discuss that for a bit. So yes,
okay?
the first episode of Doctor Who did indeed air the day after President Kennedy was assassinated, and in fact, the whole idea was so few people. Well, I mean about 4 million, I think, but not very many people actually watched that first episode because everyone was so fixated on the assassination from the day before. Yeah,
But that is very interesting. Okay, so
indeed.
another fact I'm reading is that apparently 97 of the show's 871 episodes are actually not held in the BBC's archives, as many
Indeed.
were wiped away between 1967 and 1978.
Yeah. I mean, most of the
Wow.
missing episodes are from much
Wait,
earlier
why
in
though?
the classic era. I think the main reason the episodes were missing is because I think back when Doctor Who started, the BBC didn't
Yeah.
really think it would become as popular and beloved a show as it is now.
Oh, that
So
makes a
they
lot.
to kind of
Yeah.
reuse film, they got rid of
Yeah,
episodes.
that makes a lot of sense.
I think that's the reason behind it.
Okay, fun fact. The TARDIS has a six-sided control console because it was designed to have six operatives.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
You're
the
just
six
telling me facts
operatives.
right now that I know. But
Hey, but this is stuff that I didn't know because I'm a novice, as I said
yeah.
earlier.
So
Yeah.
tell me a bit more about just your current knowledge and experience of Doctor Who.
Okay. So I know about I know about the the telepathic angel network. I know what's possible with that because from the Time Lord technology, like you can have like I don't even know how that works really, but I know
So
like
you're talking
where you
about the
link.
series 3 finale where the Doctor
Yeah.
was able to use the the Angel Network satellites to
Yes,
go
that one.
from that reduced form he was back to his ordinary form. But that's
Yes,
also
yes.
the network that the Master used essentially to keep everyone brainwashed, kind of like just submissive and obedient of his ruling.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was also surprised by that one episode where the Doctor turned himself because he was being chased across the galaxy by like that other civilization that he could turn himself into a human and
Oh
change his entire
yes.
like
So
training structure and everything.
yeah,
That was
those two episodes are
really
beloved by fans. They're two of the best, considered two of the best episodes of modern Doctor Who. Human
that's one of the
Nature and the
best
Family of
episodes to
Blood.
me.
Yeah, the Doctor turns himself human in that one, which definitely a very interesting premise that
Yeah.
was developed on brilliantly.
I think for whoever's watching and they don't understand like the what Doctor Who is about and the concept of it, essentially the Doctor is like a Time Lord, so he's a different species. He's not human, so him turning himself into human was very surprising and unique, sort of.
Indeed,
Very yeah. It's the first time that like has occurred in the show, really, something like that. I think.
I think so. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but the actual story itself, the TV story "Human Nature and the Family of Blood" that you watched, is
Yeah.
adapted from a book that was written way back in the 1990s, I think,
Well,
or 80s.
that is a long time.
Yeah, but of course the episode that you watched aired in 2007, so it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
that long back
I'm not
then.
sure, but I think that's the 19th century. I'm not sure.
19th
I think
century,
that's the 19th century.
in
Yeah.
the 1990s. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Okay.
what has so far been your favorite episode?
My favorite. Oh, this is so, you're putting me on a spot with this one. Let me have a glance. I'm looking at the episodes now. So number one, I mean not my number one favorite episode, but the first episode of Doctor Who series, the 2005 one is Rose. But what is my favorite one? It's always the most recent ones because the most recent ones are always even more shocking than the first ones. But I would say the
Perhaps
Age of Steel was a
Age of
good one.
Steel. So
Yeah,
the
the Age of
two-parter
Steel.
Age of Steel and I'm forgetting the episode name.
Oh, Rise of the Cybermen is the
Rise,
first one.
yes, Rise of the Cyberman two-parter in series two. So not the finale, but the
Yeah,
in the middle of the series where they go to an alternate universe. The 10th Doctor, Rose, and Mickey go to an alternate universe. Well, they get pulled into an alternate universe. That one.
yeah, correct. Okay,
Yeah, I
now
mean, I
yeah.
personally, that isn't my favorite ever Doctor Who story. Is also in series two. It's not that one, but
Oh, interesting.
I do understand that episode is certainly a really good series two episode. Sorry, series two story. It's two episodes. It's a story. But personally, I'd say that when it comes to series two, the standout story is the Impossible Planet and the Station Pit. Do you remember
Mm,
those?
I remember those, but
The one with the devil
I,
and the planet
I know it
orbiting the
was a
black
bit.
hole.
To me, it was a bit uncanny, strange, and just very uninteresting. Too confusing to not
Too
much plot
confusing.
with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
not
see.
much with it. Like, there's no real explanation to that ancient like devil creature, how it got there in the first place, how there's a black hole, which is how planet is orbiting a black hole. There wasn't really much logic and like plot to it.
Well,
That's just
obviously, Doctor Who is a science fiction, really science fantasy show, so not like the whole orbiting a black hole thing. Well, that's first of all, that is technically possible in real life, but also the whole idea of that gravity field extending out, that's just pure science fiction. It's
mm,
not really based much in science fact. When it comes to
yeah,
the devil's existence, the whole point is that you're meant to kind of it's left to the imagination what happens to the devil, how it came about. I mean, it is somewhat explained as this ancient civilization before the universe existed, but it's all that
fair,
questioning your beliefs, your faiths, and philosophy,
fair enough.
which I find very interesting.
Would you like to like share one of your other favorite episodes with us in like the
Oh
beginning of like
yes,
the starter
the
series?
the
Yeah,
first few series. Should I? I mean, no, okay, it has to be an episode that you've watched so far.
yeah, it has to be
Yeah,
so we can like compare and contrast.
yeah. So Did you watch the episode Blink? Yeah, series 3. You must have, right?
Wait, um,
The one with the statues.
Blink. Oh, that one. Yes, that one.
So you noticed how, just like with Love and Monsters, that episode was Doctor Light, as in it didn't feature the Doctor and Martha
I
very
realized
heavily.
it was, yeah.
So Blink essentially is the second Doctor Light episode of Modern Doctor Who, in the sense that I think the real world reasoning behind this is that essentially the actors' schedules were very tight, and in order to fit more episodes in, they wanted to film an episode which didn't involve the Doctor and Martha too much, so that there was more time for the actors who play the Doctor and Martha to feature in other episodes more heavily. So
Okay.
this episode was developed as a Doctor Light episode, which barely featured the Doctor and Martha, but still featured them enough to still be a Doctor Who episode, of course.
Yeah,
But
of course.
it is considered. Now, I personally think Blink is a little overrated. Blink is considered one of the best, if not the best, Doctor Who episodes of all time by the fan base,
Yeah,
by the majority of the fan
yeah.
base. It has the highest rating on IMDb. Fun fact: it has the highest
Well,
rating of any Doctor Who episode ever,
any Doctor.
9.8 out of 10.
Well,
But
that
I
is,
do think it is quite overrated. It's a
yeah.
good episode. It's really good, but the best. I mean, there are certainly better ones. I think, in my opinion, like the Impossible Planet, and the Satan Pit that I just mentioned before. Now, interestingly, you watched Love and Monsters, right?
Yes, correct.
What did you think of that episode?
I thought that was emotional to the maximum degree, the most
You thought that the
emotional
Absorbaloff
episode ever.
absorbing
Yeah,
the his victims was emotional.
emotional completely. It was not. They did not say funny. Did not say it was funny. Did not say it was hysterical. Comedians.
I mean, it is a bit
It was
goofy,
not.
though. You have to admit. I mean, I will say this: I think Love and Monsters is very much overhated and underrated among the fan base. It is considered one of the worst episodes of modern Doctor Who.
I highly disagree with that. How is that
I
one of the
also
one?
disagree. I also
How?
disagree. It's interesting that the first Doctor Light episode, which barely features the Doctor and his companion, which is Love and Monsters, how that is so hated overall, but the
Yeah.
second Doctor Light episode, Blink, which also barely features the Doctor and his companion, is so beloved. But again, I do think that Love and Monsters, people fail to understand that it's not a. Yes, the Absorbaloff is goofy and funny, but that's not the central point of the episode. That's not the central focus of the
I,
episode.
that
The
was not
focus
even.
is
That was
around that group.
tragic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think.
Okay.
Also, did you
Um.
know this? Did you know this, by the way, about Love and Monsters?
No. What about it?
So, the monster itself, the Absorbaloff, the big monster,
Yeah. That big
the,
thing with the
yeah,
faces.
it was designed by a 9-year-old. The monster design was designed by a 9-year-old for a
Oh, that is
competition,
pretty
for a
imagination.
television competition.
That is an impressive imagination right there.
Yeah, but I think it just goes to show that people are way too harsh on that episode. Like they fail to understand that the monster design wasn't designed by some executive producer, like some designer, script writer, whatever. It was
Yeah.
designed by a child for a competition, so you should expect it to be the most interesting, complex monster design.
Yeah, that was very like interesting. That monster, like the concept behind it, it was very interesting. Let's move on now. I think we should move on. That has
Yeah,
been
okay,
enough.
fair enough. Enough about Love and Monsters. Still a good episode though, but yeah.
Yeah, still an amazing episode. Okay, so series 3, Gridlock.
Gridlock.
I like that episode. That is my least favorite. I won't say I hate that
Your
episode. I would
least favorite episode is
least
Gridlock.
favorite. Yes,
Why did you dislike it so much?
it's just something about it.
Yeah, I thought that was a very unique episode. It's set in a destination that we visited before in series 2 in
Mm,
New Earth, but except
yeah,
now you realise the consequences of the Doctor's actions. in that previous episode, where the population is now having to essentially leave the surface.
To me, it just felt. What I was gonna say is that I felt like the episode when I was watching it, it was kind of like, you know, when you're writing a story and you write it halfway and then you improvise the last bit of it. The ending felt like, oh, that's what happens when you go in the fast track, that you're just stuck there forever. And okay, I shouldn't spoil it anymore, but it felt like the ending was just anticlimactic and just improvised as a solution to what is exactly happening, what the problem is, which is going on. Like, it's a improvised resolution to everything.
Interesting. I mean, I thought it was very emotional when we got to see the face of Bo and realize the damage that this I think it was the Bliss sticker, I think, that had caused all this destruction and death. And then we got to see all that, and we got to see the face of Bo. I think the face of Bo died in that episode. I thought that was a very emotional ending. I mean, I think Gridlock is not an episode that most people would say is particular. I mean, I think actually Gridlock has quite generally positive opinion. Like, most people think positively of it.
Yeah.
But interesting that you thought it was your least favorite.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, personally, I think it's hard to pinpoint my least favorite. Oh, actually, there is an episode. Do you know? Did you watch you watched the episode Fear Her, right? The one with the little child, and it was the Olympics in 2012, and the little child could draw objects, and then the objects kind of.
Which series was that?
Series 2.
Series 2.
That is widely regarded as the worst docu episode of all.
Which episode of series 2?
Kurie, you actually have to listen to this. You're on the description, right? You're on BBC iPlayer on series 2 right now, right?
Yes.
Fear Her. Okay, you can't see Fear Her there, right?
Yes.
There is a very good reason for that. So here's the story, right?
Yeah, continue.
So the former BBC presenter featured in Fear Her as a cameo, right? He featured as in a cameo, but then he got charged with certain criminal offences that I'm not going to go into in this podcast because it's not really related. Right? He got charged with very serious criminal offences, and he's no longer part of the BBC. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So the BBC thought they'd remove that episode to edit out the presenter's voice and replace it with another voice. That's why you can't see it on BBC iPlayer right now. But ignoring all that, because that's not really relevant. Fear Her itself, what did you think of it?
I didn't even watch Fear Her though.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't because it wasn't on iPlayer. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, which you just said before.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. When I obviously have watched it before. It is widely regarded as the worst episode of all time, which is probably why no one really cares that it got taken off in the first place. But essentially, the idea is that should I spoil it for you? It's not an important episode. It's not.
I mean, if it's one of the worst ones, I don't think the audience I personally don't spoiling it. But
basically, it's set in obviously this episode aired in 2006. It was set in the future of 2012 back then, right? When the Olympics were, and then there's this child that can draw stuff and make that stuff animated, I think.
Oh, I understand that.
They draw stuff, and then the stuff kind of gets taken out of reality and into their own world.
Kind of like Death Note, that show.
The child acting is abysmal. The child acting is abysmal, and the story is very, very basic and low hanging fruit.
No offense to anyone watching this whose favorite episode is Fear Her.
Yeah, no offense to those. No offense to those guys. I think even though children, like quite young children, might find it enjoyable, it's not. It's one of the most hated, as episodes have said before, because of how basic and simple it is and the terrible child acting.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be honest at the end of the day when acting awful. You can't just like sugarcoat it and say
Mm.
like that episode featured these characters which made it better. Like when something's awful, you just have to like point it out. So I mean, the shows will get better
Yeah.
in the future. Mm.
But yeah, so uh, when slash if the episode comes back up, you can watch it if you want, but it's your choice.
Yeah,
Very well then.
I'm searching up
So,
something. One moment.
okay.
Is the Doctor in like series the new Doctor? You know that when he changed form originally to the second Doctor.
So when the first Doctor regenerated into the second Doctor, yeah?
Yeah. Is the actor's name David Tennant?
Oh no, no. Okay. Oh yes, sorry. No, yes, no, sorry. So let's clear things up here.
Yes or no? Okay.
David Tennant plays the 10th Doctor.
Oh, the okay.
You started watching from modern Doctor Who, right? Again, there was a whole part of Doctor Who before then. Doctor Who started way back in 1963.
Oh,
By
so some,
the series one of modern Doctor Who, the first series that you watched, we were on
yes.
the ninth Doctor.
Oh, the ninth Doctor.
The
Okay, yeah.
ninth Doctor is the first Doctor that you saw in series one.
Okay,
Then he regenerated into the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, at the end of series one. But here's the thing. Here's the very interesting thing. So in 1963, when Doctor Who first begun, we had the
yeah.
first Doctor, played by William Hartnell. That's the actor's name.
Okay,
By 1989, the end of classic Doctor Who, we were on the seventh Doctor. Right?
yeah. Right, I'm with you.
Here's the thing. The seventh Doctor never got to regenerate into the eighth Doctor in the show. That happened in the Doctor Who TV movie, the movie I was talking about that came out in 1996 that I said
Yeah.
earlier. Right?
Yes.
Now, the canonicity of the movie is debated, meaning that the Doctor Who fans are
Mm.
still very divided as to whether the Doctor Who movie is canon because it wasn't really made by the BBC.
Okay.
But in that film, in the movie, the seventh Doctor regenerates into the eighth Doctor. But here's the thing: the eighth Doctor doesn't regenerate into the ninth Doctor at the end of the film because the idea is that the film was
Yeah.
meant to restart the show in 1996, would continue the show in
Okay.
1996, but that never happened. So when the
Oh,
show came back officially as a show in 2005, we just started with what was called the Ninth Doctor,
okay.
completely new actor now playing the Doctor, the Ninth Doctor. I don't want to spoil anything, but things get a bit complicated in later series, especially when you get to series 7. You realise that something. Actually, I guess I can kind of say, you know about the Time War, right?
Yeah, the Time War, the
The Time
infamous time.
War is
Who
in the
get that?
universe of the show, in the fiction of the show, is meant to have happened um between the eighth Doctor and ninth Doctor, right? Between
Yeah.
classic Doctor Who and Mon Doctor Who. It's essentially an in-universe explanation for why the show went off air and stopped being a thing for 16 years.
Whoa.
It's kind of made up as an in-universe explanation of that, I think, but also
Yeah.
as a good kind of backstory for the Ninth Doctor, kind of.
Okay.
But you'll find out later that there's a whole other
Yeah.
Doctor involved, and things get a bit complicated. And then once you get to series 12, you will watch an episode that. You know what? No, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Just continue watching. We'll
Yeah.
see things get interesting and complicated and controversial quickly.
I would like to move back, talking back onto the Last of the Time Lords, that two-part series, two-part
Okay.
episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's the Last of the Time Lords or the Sound of the Drums. I'm not sure which of the parts, but that's irrelevant. You know when the Master he does something and like he says like let's see the Doctor 900 years old, like true form is true form, and he
Oh
turns into
yeah.
like weird creature kind of that in the pet bird cage. Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That one. What is that creature like?
It's
What is
just okay. So basically, You know
Okay,
how
I'm not.
you know how
Yeah,
the Doctor regenerates. Yeah, obviously you know how the Doctor regenerates, and there are various versions, incarnations of the Doctor, right?
yeah, right. I
The
know that.
obviously regenerate. Okay, so quick backstory at regeneration. Regeneration was invented as a plot device because the first
Mm,
actor to play the Doctor became too ill to play the Doctor and too old. They didn't want to have the show stop because of that. They wanted to bring in a new actor, but they had to explain why the character was being played by another actor now.
yeah,
So that's
that's
the
a,
real world explanation for why the plot device of regeneration was created.
I'm not talking about
In,
the raw explanation. I mean like
but
the
okay, so in universe,
in the
regeneration, when the current version of the Doctor starts aging, getting old, usually, or when they're very badly damaged and hurt,
yeah,
regeneration is a process that heals the Doctor, heals their cells, but at the expense of them that now completely changing.
yeah,
But okay, so knowing that, what the Master did to the Doctor in that episode was he made the Doctor into a version where, say, the Doctor never regenerated and continued to age.
yeah,
How would he look like in 900 years?
yeah.
Assuming he never could regenerate. That's I
Uh,
think, to my knowledge, what the Master was doing to the Doctor.
Okay, that makes things much more clearer now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
So yeah, and the Doctor then used the power of the Angel network of satellites to get back to his original form. It's all that part of the episode is criticized by some fans because it's a bit too Deus ex machina, if you know what that means.
No, I forgot. That's English language
It,
term.
it,
I
it's a plot
forgot.
device where it's a plot device, I think, where the plot is resolved by essentially this higher power that can do anything.
Okay.
Right? It's like it's hard to explain without an example, but the Doctor is just turned back into this almost for a short amount of time this godly being that is able to resolve all the plot of the
Oh
resolve all
yes.
the issues of the
Yeah.
plot by reversing that time by going back into his usual form.
Yeah. And you started floating.
It's
Okay.
criticized by some, but I think given how much the writers had to juggle in terms of the different side plots, the different issues going
Yeah.
on. I think it's fine. I think it does
In
the job.
yeah. In addition to this, talking about the same episode, The Last of the Time Lords, I presume like the master, like the character of the master as a whole, had the shortest screen time ever because it was only in 2 episodes.
Okay.
Unlike
Yeah, I
very
don't.
camera.
I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say this. The
Yes.
Master will return, and the Master was a character introduced back in classic Doctor Who. I'm just
Okay,
going to
so
say that. I'm just going to say
it
that.
wasn't just yeah something
I
that
don't want
was
to spoil anything. That's what I'm going to say.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Another thing I want to talk
Well,
about is the new series Doctor Who.
okay.
So
Yes.
when I first introduced you to Doctor Who, you actually started on the very latest series. Is that correct?
Quite tragically, yes, indeed.
So you kind of spoiled yourself, but not really, because
Yeah, I forgot most of it, so
yeah, okay.
not much of a spoiler.
But yeah, essentially, you'll find out that from series. So you're currently on series 4 of Modern Doctor Who. You'll
Yes.
find that series 13 is the last series of Modern Doctor Who, but isn't the latest Doctor Who series because going back to what I was saying before, the whole
Yeah.
deal between the BBC and Disney meant they rebranded the next series Doctor Who after series 13 as season 1. So there's a
Yeah.
separate part on BBC iPlayer for Doctor Who season 1, which isn't Doctor Who season 1 from 1963, which is also on BBC iPlayer. It's the
Yeah.
new series Doctor Who that's rebranded as season 1.
Okay.
And that idea by itself is quite controversial. And I don't think it's that big of a deal since it's just what you're calling a series. It doesn't affect the quality of this. It has nothing to do with the quality of the series.
Yeah.
But I will still call it Series 14. And yeah, I just think,
I think that's fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's for me, it's Series 14.
Yeah.
But technically, you could argue that we should have just continued by having series 1 of Mon Doctor Who, the first series that you started watching, be
Yeah.
called season 27, if that makes sense. Continuation of the classic Doctor Who. You could
Correct.
argue then that this new series, the latest series of Doctor Who that just aired, is season 40 of Doctor
Yeah.
Who.
Well, I think it's fair to call it series 14 because I mean it's not a continuation of it's not the same as series 1 of the modern Doctor Who, so I think it's okay to call it series 14 per se.
Yeah, series 14, but not. But you could technically also call it. You could call it series 14
Yeah.
or season 40, 40, or
Uh,
season 1 as it is officially called.
that is a lot to
It's
wrap my head.
confusing.
Very confusing. I don't know
It's
how
very confusing.
what Doctor Who is thinking about this right now.
But the whole idea is Doctor Who is not like the other shows that exist. It's been going on for one of the longest periods of time. I understand that, of course, it wasn't being aired continuously from
Yes.
1963 to 2024.
Yeah.
But unlike other shows, which don't last more than several years usually, it not only went on for 26 years in the 20th century, from 1963 to 1989, it
Yeah.
stopped for a bit, came back in 2005, and has been going on for 19 years.
Yeah.
Mon Doctor is going on for 19 years now.
Okay.
So it's obviously going to be very confusing when it comes to how you refer to these series names, and just also the lore in general is really confusing because there's no set lore.
Can we just
That's a whole different story, though.
oh,
That's a whole different story.
can we talk about like the dreamlike, the lucid dreamlike state of Doctor Who because it's very lucid dreamy, if you understand.
In what sense?
Both the episodes and like the the in-universe context of the character. So for example, let's just take the Doctor. I'm gonna put this clear so you understand like my frame of view of this. The Doctor is called the Doctor, but he travels in a police phone box, but a police phone box and is not a doctor.
Okay, so first of
Yeah.
all, just a little bit of information here. The police box that the TARDIS looks like is a
Yeah.
disguise. The TARDIS is a time machine, right?
Yeah.
Which was originated from Gallifrey, the Doctor's home planet,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
The time machine originally just looks like a kind of cylindrical portal kind of thing. It's very
Yeah.
bland and basic, what you'd imagine a kind of time machine, time capsule to look like.
Okay.
The police box appearance is just a disguise. Now, what
Yeah.
happened was at the beginning of the show, the Doctor is first seen in 1960s London because, of course, 1963 is when the show began, and the first episode is first set in London in the 1960s, right?
Yeah.
So the TARDIS, in order to blend with its environment, it takes on different disguises. So when it arrived in 1960s London, it took on the disguise of a 1960s police box.
Okay. That makes
But
it more
what happened was is that the control circuit, it's called the chameleon arc. No,
yeah.
chameleon circuit actually. It's called the chameleon circuit. That control circuit that controls different disguises the TARDIS can put up to blend in with its external environment, it broke.
Yeah.
So the
Oh,
TARDIS was stuck with that police phone
oh no.
box look, and it's had that look ever since.
Okay,
Yeah,
so but the doctor can fix anything. Why doesn't he just fix it?
the Doctor doesn't fix it because he likes the look. He just got so used to it that he just thought, why fix it? Why fix the
Okay. It makes
circuit?
him look it
Change the
makes him appear
appearance.
human, I guess. Yeah. It makes him
But
appear more human, being in a police phone
yeah, but
and being called doctor.
the real life explanation is
Yeah.
just because it will be too expensive to have lots of different exterior designs for the TARDIS. It's just to keep costs low in
Oh,
real
you
life. That's the real life reason.
you destroyed everyone's imagination and creativity by just saying that. Yeah.
It's true.
Creativity is
It's true. It's true.
well done. Congratulations.
I've noticed that most of this entire podcast is me just been explaining lots of stuff about Doctor Who to you that
I
you
mean,
didn't really know.
yeah,
But
I mean, most viewers probably know all of this because Doctor Who is like very old, so I assume like all of them know everything that's happening, but they're kind of witnessing my experience of like of being in the past, kind of being series 4 at series 4.
Yeah, I mean, you've just started watching it. Your knowledge is quite limited. I
Yes,
actually, so
I'm a
yeah,
novice.
you just started watching it. When it comes to my own experience of Doctor Who, this is actually really interesting. I was first introduced to Doctor Who, I think, as far back as 2011.
Well, that is a long time.
Because it's kind of, I don't really remember when I first watched my Doctor Who. I don't actually remember my first Doctor Who episode I ever watched. I don't
Shame.
remember. It's it's that's the truth. I don't remember because it's weird. So recently, when looking at previous Amazon orders, I noticed that
Yeah,
one order placed in 2011 was a Doctor Who DVD set.
interesting.
So that's why I've said that I think it was 2011. But my
That is
earliest memories of watching Doctor Who was 2013 slash early 2014.
okay.
But here's
You
the
know what?
thing.
Yeah. Go
Here's
on.
the thing. So I was probably watching Doctor Who occasionally at the beginning of the 2010s. And then what happened was, so Series 7, 2013. Series 8 came out in 2014. I watched that. I think I watched that when it was broadcast live.
Right.
Then Series 9 came along in 2015. I'm pretty sure I watched Series 9 live in 2015. But here's the
Well,
thing. After Series 9 finished airing at the end of 2015, Series 10 didn't come around until a year later at the end of 2016. But that was just the Christmas special. The actual main series started in April 2017. By then, I just wasn't watching Doctor Who anymore.
hmm.
So what happened was, all of 2016 and 2017 and most of 2018, I just forgot about Doctor Who. I wasn't really watching it. Then I only really started watching it again in at the end of 2018 when Series 11 came around, and I've been
Okay.
watching. I've been watching it ever since. I went over and watched all the previous episodes of Mon Doctor Who in 2019 after initially watching Series 11 in 2018, and I I have to admit I have watched almost no episodes of classic Doctor Who, despite knowing a lot about it, because until very recently didn't have access to classic Doctor Who.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I guess that's your backstory, you could say, to the audience about like um your history of the show in general, like you watching and everything, your history.
yeah. I mean, despite how much I know about the show, despite how long I've been watching it on and off for the past over a decade,
Yeah.
I have barely watched any of classic Doctor Who, which means there's still
Oh,
so many Doctor Who episodes I haven't watched yet.
yeah. Okay, well, I would like to say something myself now. Yeah, series 4. I'm looking at it right now, the episodes, and I'm glad like the first episode is a comeback of that Donna. She came back. I was
Yes,
so I saw that at the end of series 3 when I saw that she actually came back.
she does indeed come back.
Planet of the Ood comes back. I'm seeing. Okay.
The Ood come back, yeah.
Okay, the Doctor's daughter. That is gonna be an insane episode. I already know like the previous episodes are gonna be built up to that one episode because that title is very like bold.
Series
Very
4 is often regarded as the best series of Mon Doctor Who by many people. I'd say it is the second best. I think Series 9 is a bit better. I think Series 9 is my favourite, then Series 4,
okay.
right
I'll
below it.
personally
But
myself when I've completed all episodes and finished. Wait, oh, there's a lot of like special episodes at the end of this. I was about to say the end of episode 13, but there's like one, two, three, four, five
oh
special.
yes, Series 4 has the most episodes as well. So what's interesting is Series 4 aired predominantly in 2008. So the episode you just watched, Voyage of the Damned with the Titanic,
Yeah,
right? That aired Christmas 2007. Most of Series 4 airs in 2008, but what happened was, because Series 5 was set to air in 2010, they needed to bridge the gap in 2009. So they made
yeah,
four No, they made 3 episodes, or 4 episodes, 3 of which aired in 2009. So Planet of the Dead, Waters of Mars, and the End of Time Part 1 all aired
Yeah.
in 2009 to bridge the gap between 2008 and 2010 Doctor Who.
Okay.
And then the finale of Series 4 aired New Year's Day 2010.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which means, by the way, that Series 5's first episode, The 11th Hour, aired on the 3rd of April 2010,
Oh.
which means that the gap between Series 4 and 5 is the shortest gap between series in terms of how long you had to wait from one series to the next
Okay, that's
in all of
interesting.
modern Doctor Who. And the longest gap is the most recent one, Series 13 to Series 14. Almost over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take your word for everything because I'm not doing contextual research on all of that of what you just said. So I will only take what you say on it and take that you're the expert on everything.
Indeed. I suppose
Okay.
I am.
I have an in-universe question for you now. So the Doctor is the last of the Time Lords, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so given that he has a humanoid form, has 2 hearts, does he not have like a reproductive system to like make more Time Lords? I don't understand. Why can't he reproduce and make?
I'm being honest, I don't know what law there is about Time Lord reproduction, but I don't know.
Okay, maybe I'm getting too sophisticated with the fictional universe. Okay,
But
yeah,
the idea is because the Doctor is the last of the Time Lords, right? The Doctor and the Master. The Master comes and goes. The Doctor basically being the last of the Time Lords.
yeah.
Who would the Doctor reproduce with, if that makes sense?
No, like human. Can't he like genetically modify a human or something, or do some
This is all
something creative?
that's all way beyond anything. That's all
Yeah.
mere
Okay.
speculation.
Okay. But what inspired my questioning into that is series 4 episode 6 where it says the Doctor's daughter.
Oh,
That's what
oh
inspired.
yes. Okay, you'll
Yeah.
find out in that episode how the Doctor's daughter comes about. You'll find out. It's
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I assume it's the random woman, which just like is metaphorically his daughter. That's what I will take for it. But don't spoil it for me. Please don't spoil it.
I won't. I won't. You'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Well then, anything else that you have to ask me?
Let me think. Smith and Jones. I was so like, I think that's the point where the show really turns around, like introduces something new after the death. I mean, not the death of Rose. Oh no, how am I getting? Okay, I shouldn't spoil what happens to Rose, but ignoring that, when Rose has left the series, or I don't know if she returns later or temporarily, but when Rose is gone and Martha takes like Martha comes into position as being the Doctor's new companion, I thought that was like an immense switch for all
Yeah,
of the viewers and me personally.
indeed. I mean, the main reason it happened is because the actress who played Rose wanted to leave the show, do something else, so they had to bring in a
Obviously,
new
you
companion.
know that. Okay, you don't have to say it every time that the actor doesn't want to play the show. The actor is too old. You understand in the universe
I just given the
context.
real life reasons.
Universe.
Obviously, they have to keep with the main way the show works. We have the Doctor traveling with his or her companion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they had to introduce a new companion, and that new companion was Martha Jones. But
Yeah.
I don't think the show really, in my opinion, I mean, and again, I've been watching it for much longer than you have, and watched way more episodes than you have, but I don't think the show really changes until after Series 4. I don't think there's a massive shift in the general atmosphere of the show until
Yeah.
after Series 4, going into Series 5. But interesting that you say Series 3 was a big turning point for you.
Yeah. More onto the biology now. I know you,
Okay.
but I think it's interesting to just like get creative and think about these things and ask questions really. So I'm gonna ask a very interesting question. We don't see the Doctor eat much food within the show, and he is humanoid because he has 2 hearts. He's humanoid and he has 2 hearts, so he has to eat something. How's he getting energy
I
to
mean,
replenish?
would it really be interesting to watch the Doctor just eat food? Or any character for that
Yeah,
matter?
but the
You know,
in-universe context, Shane, we are not talking about.
if we're being honest, in most television and in most TV shows and films, do you see characters doing regular day-to-day things? No, because
Yeah, we
that's
see
kind
them.
of obviously they're going to do that. That's not very interesting to watch.
Walking is the everyday thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Also, if the Doctor's a Time Lord, maybe he doesn't need to eat as much food as humans do, if any
I
food.
mean,
You
yeah,
know.
I'm a complete novice. Maybe I'm just wrong about everything. Maybe he doesn't need to eat. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or every except me probably.
So then, anything
I think
else?
let's talk about more the how every so often there's like the show continues to oscillate, or maybe oscillate is not the right word, but I'll still use it. The show tends to oscillate between extremely emotional episodes and just goofy episodes in general. Like it just oscillates between those two.
I mean,
Some
it,
episodes,
it, it has a large variety of episodes in terms of genre. You know, there's drama, there's comedy, there's mystery, um,
yeah,
there's suspense, intrigue, emotional finales. Lots of different types and genres of episodes in Doctor Who. Really,
I to me it feels the lucidity of everything. It makes it more like dreamlike
I,
when you
I
have like
I think the fact that there is such a variety of genres present in Doctor Who is very much a strength. It's very much a good thing about the show.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing. I like it. It makes the show interesting and like compelling,
Yeah,
and it is repetitive or boring because there's always
and
something.
arguably it makes it enjoyable for a greater number of viewers potentially.
Oh, that yeah, that could be also like a marketing thing to take into account because you
Maybe,
want the
maybe.
most viewers as possible to, yeah, be interested
But I mean,
in the show.
at its heart, it's a science fiction show, so almost all the ideas will evolve around science fiction elements, aliens, like different types of futuristic technology and societies.
Yeah, which is understandable. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, do you have any other inquiries about Doctor Who? I mean, I guess
I was gonna say something.
you're still watching the modern series, right? It's going to take a while for you to finish the modern
Yeah,
series, finish series 14.
it is
Then,
really
do you plan on watching classic Doctor Who?
possibly. I mean,
Possibly.
only the Doctor knows. Only the Doctor knows. He's a time traveler, not me. Not me.
Yeah, I
Mm,
mean, I'd say that whilst there is a lot to enjoy in classic Doctor Who, definitely,
yeah,
most of the basic lore and just fundamental lore of Doctor Who can be very well understood from just watching modern Doctor Who. And if I'm being
yeah.
honest, Doctor Who lore is all over the place. Like, there's no
It-
fixed canon for the entire show. There's so many contradictions and issues everywhere regarding the lore of Doctor Who. It's all over the place, essentially.
Some could even say it is paradoxical, like a paradox machine.
Well, yeah.
Some could even say that.
As you know, what matters more is the individual episodes and series themselves, how enjoyable they are, how interesting and compelling they are. The overall
Yeah,
overarching lore of the show itself isn't as important in most episodes. It's very much, you know, enjoy whether you not enjoy the episode, enjoy the series,
yeah.
have a good time. Yeah,
Okay, well, to wrap things up, I would like to ask you one question, which to wrap things up, which will be the finale. So, what
very
would
well.
you advise to anyone who is like thinking of watching Doctor Who, doesn't know much about the 1978, I think, the old Doctor Who, the modern Doctor Who, they don't know much about the series. What would you advise them?
Basically, just start on Rose. Start on series one of Mondok 2 Rose, just like you did. Lots of people say start with series 5, and whilst the show does shift very much,
Wait, why would you start with Series 5?
lots of people I have heard said start with series 5 because the show shifts quite a bit.
I
It
don't
does
know.
change quite a bit from series 4 to series 5 because of a whole new production team, new actor
Start
for the
with Series
Doctor,
1 as well.
all of that.
Yeah,
And they think series 5 is the best option, but there's so much to enjoy in the first 4 series. You shouldn't
honestly,
be missing out on that. Ideally, series 1 of Mondok 2 Rose. You
yeah.
could go all the way back to 1963, but then you'd have to watch so much more Doctor Who, much more time consuming. If you just want to get a good taste of Doctor Who, you don't have much time, to spare. Start with Rose. That's my honest opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, that has been a wild journey, both in watching Doctor Who and the podcast itself, because this podcast will be included in my journey and understanding more about the show, understanding more about the context. There's from a historical side, even though there's not much history per se, or modern history, but yeah, well, this has been Kurie S Jones and Shane. And Shane, do you have anything else to say?
No, it's been a brilliant podcast. Brilliant to be with you today. And yeah, really interesting conversation about Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think that wraps things up. Yep. Take care, everyone. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for possibly more podcasts.
Yeah. Farewell.